Now this is crazy. I did a quick video this morning about music that touches your soul, and I read on instapundit.com, which is my go-to source of news. Glenn Reynolds is a law professor out of University of Tennessee, and he has a bunch of libertarian-leaning folks who update stories there. And I post that video, and then I come to instapundit.com and I come across this article, which is nuts. And this is on suicide above and beyond and healing through music. And it's wow, because I tell you, the video I did talked about how music, it can just hits the soul, how wonderful it can be, but also can be very bad too. It can put you in a wonderful place or a bad place. And I don't know, what does this have to do with financial planning? Well, the health of a human being is certainly more than financial. It's emotional without question. And if you're in a bad place, I don't care how much money you have or how much stupid Monte Carlo retirement planning, you're gonna, it's not gonna be a good life. And life's worth living. It really is. I've actually never had suicidal thoughts. I've never had that, and that's great. I'm happy for that. But I know many people who have. I've known people who have done it, and I've known people who've overdosed on drugs too. And it's easy to. And I was talking to someone just this week, and they were discounting the lack of. It's like they were just discounting. Like, why can't they see it's going to get better? And I don't know why they can't, but they can't, and that's why they end up killing themselves, because they don't think it will get better. And it's sad. And I think there's also a lot of people medicate themselves on drugs and alcohol for sure. And of course, if you're medicating yourself on alcohol, going down the heroin route, and then you end up with fentanyl, it's over for you. No other way around that. So let's read this. I haven't read it. Brittany Hunter. All right, so she writes Dateline today. Whether or not we are willing to admit it publicly, many of us have gotten to a point where existing becomes too painful to bear. Some people get help, some people don't. But other people hover somewhere in the middle, unwilling to take their own life, but not resolved enough to try to make it better. It was in this gray area where I found myself floating during the summer of 2017. And instead of actively attempting to take my life, I stopped fighting for it, and I stopped trying to self-preserve. And there she is. I can't really see much of her, but she doesn't look like an ogre. I couldn't understand how my life had gotten to a point where I no longer saw it as valuable to anyone else, nor not my family, and certainly not myself. Nevertheless, I arrived at a place where I'd given up on myself, not actively suicidal, but not really living either. I was treading water, and my arms and legs were growing tired and about to give out. I could feel that passivity starting to fall away. I started playing how and when I'd do it, and I could see how this was going to end, and while it terrified me, the fact that an out existed was almost comforting. Suffice it to say, I was running out of time. Man, it breaks my heart. There's an out. There's an end game for these people. It's not even like they're depressed. They're just, it's like nothingness. It's like C.S. Lewis talks about when you go to hell. It's not that it's torturous fire pits of hell and gnashing of teeth. It's nothingness. Nothing. Oh, man. I've written before about dancing and music and how they threw me a lifeline when I needed it most. But there's one specific period of that aforementioned music festival in Atlanta where my will to live was given back to me. And as bumpy as the road has gotten in the years since I first surrendered to the music, it sparked and ignited in me with new life ever since. Music has a powerful influence over me for as long as I can remember. As a child, hearing music that resonated with me would always bring me to tears, often making me the target of teasing as I'd easily become so overwhelmed with emotion. But music was my safe place, and I tell you, sister, I know that well. Look, again, I've never been suicidal, but I know, that song by Boston, when I'm down and thinking low, I hide in my music, forget the day. That guy killed himself, that guy from Boston? Anyway, I remember hearing that song like in 1977, 1978, thinking that was something like that, 1980, whenever it came out. I think that was me. When I'm down and feeling low, I hide in my music and forget the day. That was me. That's me, man. But it wasn't because I was forgetting the day of suicidal, just because it was a safe place, a safe place. With headphones on, I was in a world where the other kids and other adults, for that matter, couldn't hurt me. When things at home are scary or too much for a kid or teen to understand, hiding in my room with my music was how I survived. Music has nourished me unlike any other source on the planet. But in the summer of 2017, I had a run out of music, and the despair I felt during that summer could not be remedied by any song. For most of my life, I felt terminally alone. I have dealt with some form of anxiety and depression for as long as I can remember, and this had caused me to feel isolated from other people. I've always been more intense than others and felt things more deeply than anyone I knew could possibly understand. Man, that's me. I've always been an emotional roller coaster, always. I fired up, but I've never been depressed. It's not like depressed, but it's for me. Maybe it's because I'm a man. I don't get depressed where I'm just like, ooh. I get angry. Maybe that's men and girls. Or women. They get depressed and they kind of like I talk about dyslexic boys lash out. Dyslexic girls, stand in the back hoping not to be seen. I wonder if that's a gender thing. I developed a sense of shame about this that has always divided me from other people. I didn't know then, and then that this was because for my entire life I surrounded myself with the wrong people. That last night of the music festival in September, I stepped in a world full of people who felt like I had and who hurt as I had, and who there were in the warm heat of that southern summer were desperately trying to heal and overcome their past. I'd already spent 2 days at the festival. This was unlike anything I'd seen. The first 48 hours were getting hyped up by DJs on mic, riling up the crowds. Above and Beyond, on the other hand, did not speak. Instead, they broadcast typed messages across a giant screen large enough for the entire crowd to see. Message of love, of healing, and unity. I'd never met any of these people before, but after that night was over, I could feel the family because we're all about to go on a journey together. Yes, your soul is good. It's just a line in a song, but in the span of that one evening, it undid 3 decades of negative thought patterns. I'd programmed myself to believe. This mind sounds hyperbolic, but it's just music after all. But dance music is unlike any genre, is a form of therapy so deep it changes you, so long as you're willing to let go and surrender it. I had given over parts of myself throughout the weekend-long festival, but Above and Beyond took me on a journey I had not anticipated. I guess that's a band. I'm not familiar with them. One where I confronted my grief, but simultaneously saw beauty in it. My mother suffers from borderline personality disorder, and her pain poisoned her heart with anger and animosity. She was cruel and wanted you to hurt as she did. Violence was not her preferred weapon. She would just use words to pierce you deeper than any blade could. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, she twisted the blade deeper. My childhood was engulfed in her insults, constantly telling me I wasn't enough and I should never be enough for anybody. This had unfortunately laid the blueprint for me believing that love was based on the insults and criticisms. And then it led to a series of emotionally abusive relationships with friends, siblings, and men. Yeah, man. It never occurred to me that could be good, so I always acted as didn't I just talk about this? So I always acted as though I was undeserving of any form of goodness. In my mind, I was still that child being chastised and torn apart by others. I could take it from the other kids, but I could not take it from my mom. Yet there in the middle of a racetrack in Atlanta, which had been formed into an aquatic-themed musical festival, I heard music finally began to break my mom's spell. Just going back to that book, Adult Children of Alcoholics, I highly suggest you get that book. I can't remember the lady who read it or wrote it. I think I put a link last time. It never occurred to me that it could be good, so I always acted as though I was undeserving of any form of goodness. I'm telling you, man, it's a big deal. I know that for me for a fact. You would take it out on people who valued you because you did not value yourself. You said, if I can't value myself and you're valuing me, there's something wrong with you because I have no value. And yet you're acting as if I do. And by you acting as I have value, that means you are even less valuable than me. Thus, I better do one of two things. Chastise you to get away from me because there's no way you can find value in me. So that way you leave and I don't get the pain of being left behind because there's no way that you can find value in me. Thus, I'm going to turn on you, which is, I'm telling you, I know it's convoluted. This is human beings we're talking about. That's why robots will never take over. I mean, they might be able to do things. I hope to goodness they can drive cars one day, but they're never going to be, it's up here. It's nuts. The stuff that goes on up there. Does it make sense? No. It's irrational. You have value. You don't have to be Christian. You have value as a human being. You have value as a human being. You have value. Your soul is good. Could my soul actually be good in spite of all the ideas about myself that had been reinforced my whole life? I looked around. These beautiful human beings were all hurting inside, and they're all trying to heal the best they could. I wasn't alone. The music had brought us together and it saved my life at a time when I had already resolved myself to what would have been a most regrettable and tragic fate. In the middle of their set, I heard what was one of now my absolute favorite songs for the very first time, and it made me contemplate some of my recent decisions. 2 months before the festival, I had tried and failed to end my own life. I'd never spoken about this to anyone before because it was one of the darkest days and loneliest moments of my life. And when I woke up and realized I had failed, I wasn't relieved. I just wanted it to be over. Without anyone to understand the darkness I was experiencing, life itself felt isolating. But this changed all that, this music. Well, I didn't know it then. The music was about to give me the family and community I had always wanted, but I didn't think I deserved. I'm telling you. It didn't all happen in one night, but slowly and surely the music led me to the friends I have today. And these magnificent human beings have accepted and loved me more than I thought was possible. These relationships are so strong precisely because we understand each other's pain and the important role the music plays in our own healing. These incredible souls are the reasons I am here, and they sustain my will to live every single day. Had I known I was going to meet them that horrible night in July, I probably wouldn't have ever been brought to so desperate a point to begin with. I remember specifically a moment at that first festival I will cherish forever. Dancing with someone who is now one of my closest friends. I had heard the words, "I told you a place I'd have been. It was dark and I was supremely alone. No matter now if the compass fails again, because in your love I built a home." All right, let's see here. It's hard for me to pick out which Above and Beyond songs have had the most profound impact on my life over the last few years. They have all touched my soul and given me a lustful life I'd never felt before. A primary reason is that their music does not deny the harsh realities of life. Life is hard. Pretending it isn't won't get you anywhere, but Above and Beyond finds a beauty among the chaos. And instead of the suffering, their words and their music incites the listener to dance through it, lest you let the darkness engulf you and swallow you whole. All right, let's see what else we got. King for a Day. It'd be hyperbole to say that 3 musicians completely healed 30 years worth of wounds. And I'd be lying to you if I told you that the music fixed everything after that first festival. I never faced dark thoughts again. I'd be lying if I said that. But every time I dance to Above and Beyond, I recommit myself to life, even when it hurts so bad that the alternative seemed like the best solution. Their music has become my escape hatch. Unlike any other musicians ever have, Jono Grant, Tony McGuinness, Pavo something, who make up Above and Beyond, constantly nourish my soul and let me know I'm not alone. Right before Christmas, I encountered another bump in the road. And while it brought up the same thoughts I had in 2017, it was different this time. This time I had new community with me, and they held me while I cried for the first time. I really believed I wasn't doing this on my own. Coincidentally, Above and Beyond came to town again right around this time, and it was a bittersweet experience for me. I cried the whole time as I danced. But I was not dancing or crying on my own. And I believed for the first time I was going to be okay, even if at that present moment my heart was breaking. And another there's lyrics. So, all right. So I think I'm going to stop there. It's funny. I could not. There's nothing else to say. I could not agree more. I don't know if that's going to work on this or not, but I'm going to try to find the song by Christian Stanfill. It's a Christian song. Man, I heard this at the White Flag Passion, and they do that here in Atlanta. I think it's through North Point Community Church, and that's, again, I think that Andy Stanley's a pastor. He's a non-denominational preacher. His dad, not Ralph Stanley. I forgot the other Stanley guy. Ralph Stanley, the bluegrass guy. I forgot the other guy, but his dad was a pretty big a Baptist pastor, a TV guy. Was it Ralph Stanley? I can't remember his name. But anyway, but he does, I don't like the church as much, and what I mean by that, I didn't get a good vibe when I went there. I went to a couple of the things in terms of men's groups, which I liked. The church itself, a little bit too contemporary for me. I like the softness of Catholic church, the quiet, the tradition, the somberness. I like that when I go to church. And frankly, remember, going to church doesn't get you into heaven, my friends. But church is a place to be quiet, to hear the word of Jesus talk to you. That's why I like the Catholic church, because of the quiet. And the only thing about North Point is it's too loud. I've gone to a couple Methodist church. We lived back in Virginia, Brethren Church. And I've always liked to preach in there more so than most priests. But again, I just miss the somber, the quietness of the Catholic Mass. Catholics believe when you get the body of, the bread is literally the body of Christ. We believe that. And so that's good for your soul to have Jesus in you. But you don't need that to have Jesus in you. But for some of us, because we're all flawed, We all need something for sure. I found that that helps a lot without question. Getting the body of Christ that we believe as Catholics is truly Jesus's body. I know it's crazy, right? That's the thing about God. It's supernatural. It's beyond humanity. It's beyond nature, which is what makes it great. Because anything is possible if you believe in the supernatural, literally anything. Look, I'm not going to argue with the atheists on this. It just is. I can't prove it. You can't prove it. We're all good to go. But with the North Point, the guy who preaches there, Andy Stanley, has done more for my faith than anything, and done more for my sanity than anything by far, because of his preaching. And then some of the music, like I said, about Matthew West, this guy Christian Stanfield, I'll play for you. But not even Christian necessarily, like Lucero. There's a band, it's sort of like country rock band out of Nashville called Lucero. Some of their songs it takes you away, and it puts your soul, your feet on the ground. Again, I've never been suicidal or anything. Loneliness, I've always had that. When you're independent mind, independent thought, you're contrarian by nature, you're going to have some loneliness, especially if you're the firstborn and you're somewhat raising your brother and sister on your own. You're going to have some of that. You're going to have that fight. It's a fight or flight mentality. And for a young man, it's not flight, it's fight. You're going down swinging if you're going down, and that's not good. It's not good. It's even to this day, it's tough, man. Some guy ticks you off, you still need to combat it. And you got to combat that to say, just relax, step back, live for another day. And I'm 48, going on 49. This is still a challenge, still a lesson. But I pray for all those out there right now. And some of it might be you who are at this stage in your life that you're in nothingness. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know how you get out of it. I don't. But if you have nothingness because you think you're not valued, I would challenge that. I would. And as a Christian, I'd challenge that, because we know that Jesus died for all, and he died for you. He valued you so much, God does. He wants a personal relationship with you so much. He loves you so much that he sent his only son to suffer and die and deal with torment, because God wants you to feel the joy of knowing his everlasting love. I don't know how that works with non-Christians. I don't know. They have their own belief system. I'm completely fine with that. For Christianity, though, that is the only rule that matters. God loved you so much, he was willing to get down out of heaven, take the human being, the blood and body of a man, and die in a most tormented way, getting crucified. There's a book, I'm drawing a blank what it is, which I have, about actually how the crucifixion works. I think it might be crucifixion. Oh, that's not like getting shot in the head, my friends. That's torturous. That's like the worst. And yet Jesus did that knowingly so you could have a relationship with him and obviously God. That's how much he values you. So I don't know what your struggle is if you're out there. But just remember, you are valued. And if you're thinking about it, a lot of middle-aged men, and particularly white men today, find that they don't have value in their lives for whatever reason. Maybe they got laid off. Maybe they feel like they're not bringing home the kind of money they should be for their family. Don't let it get you, man. You got to fight back. I would say go to an AA meeting, even if you're not an alcoholic, because that's a way they'll open up to anybody, for sure. And they won't preach to you. I mean, yeah, they do talk about a higher power. It's not a Christian God necessarily. I'm sure Bill W. was, but go to AA. Just open up. You don't have to be an alcoholic. You don't have to be a children of alcoholic. You just need help. You need someone to listen to. And I'm just telling you, verbalizing what's on your mind at AA, man, what a cathartic, is that the word I'm looking for? Exercise. Just verbalizing it. Maybe just taking what you feel and writing it with your hand on paper, on a notebook. Just take a notebook and write it and say, this is your feelings. Listen to music. But some of that music will take you to a dark place. That's a concern. I mean, again, it's what my dad, one of the learning things I learned from my dad, which wasn't much, is I remember being sad and being upset that I was sad. My dad said, look, you can be happy, you can be sad. It's human emotions. It's okay. I said, really? I don't have to be happy all the time? He goes, no, hell no. It's okay to be sad. It's a human emotion. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay. I pray for I feel bad. So I'm going to try to play this song here, and this will bring tears to your eyes. I'm not sure how well it's going to do when I play a song on YouTube from another YouTube station. I hope it doesn't have feedback. If it does, just stop. And, I don't know. But, man, this song, I tell you, every time I hear it, brings tears to my eyes. Anyway, blessings to you, my friends. You're valued. You're valued. You're valued. And I hope if you're in that dark, deep place, you recognize that you are valued. You are valued. All right, we'll see you. There's this Christian Stanfield song. I think it's the Passion 2012, which I'm going to play. This one right here is from 4 years ago. It's pretty, I don't think that, yeah, it's pretty good, but I think it's this one right here that, well, maybe we'll play this one. Let's see. Let's see how this one works. I hope it comes through okay. And I'm going to step away.
Stronger than the power of the grave. It's constant in the trial and the change. This one thing remains. This one thing remains. Your love never fails, never gives up. Out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love, oh, it just keeps going. And on and on and on. It's it satisfies my soul. Is this one? Is this one? Pizza.
All right, so just while we're at it, I'm going to play one more song, and this is going to be my man John Hyatt. I just hope this plays well because it's such a good song.
There's a mad little kid at the top of the stair, and his eyes together no lie. And his mom and his dad, they're too high to care, and his cries drift off in the night. And I've been back 10 years too, and I've been both of those parents too. I'm ashamed when I've lost my way, but I'd do anything just to come home. It's a twilight that captures the sorrow of time in between the life and the living. I press on through the darkness, so thoroughly blind to a light, the new morning near, and it sparkles like each new tomorrow. I pray